What's happening around the world and what's happening here at home? A very good evening to and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's now take a look at your headlines for tonight.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Samagi Janabala makes way to Colombo amidst obstacles in many areas. Sri Lanka must eradicate the era of queues, says opposition leader at the Golface roundabout. The government's response to the SJB protest. Long queues at filling stations today as well. There is no shortage of fuel. Do not be deceived by false reports, says Minister Gamman Pilla. Urea distributed to farmers in Anuradhapura.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
The protest march organized by the Samagi Janabala titled People's Power Against the Cursed Government got underway this afternoon amidst many obstacles.
The protest commenced opposite the opposition leader's office. The opposition organised this protest demanding solutions to the increased prices of many essential goods, including gas, milk powder, rice and vegetables, the fertilizer crisis, the plight of the people and against the oppressive approach of the government. People's Power Against the Cursed Government was the title of the protest. The protesters who marched to the Kolpiri junction moved towards Golface.
Barricades have been set up across the country to stop the Samagi Janabala, but no one can stop the power of the people. This is the first step of overthrowing this Rajapaksa regime, which left the people of this country in hunger, sold off national assets of this country, and are gearing up to betray this country in the future. Please remember that this is only the first step. The second step will be crucial, and the third step will be decisive. Regardless of what games these rulers decide to play, no one can harm the people of this country. Thereafter, the protesters gathered at the Golface roundabout. The era of queues in the 70s have returned. There are long queues to purchase gas, fuel, milk powder, rice and sugar. The Sapagaskanda oil refinery has been shut down for the first time in history. Why is that? They say that it's due to the dollar shortage. They don't have dollars to bring down crude oil, but can bring down refined oil. This is a disgustful attempt to obtain commissions through emergency purchases at a time when the country is in dire straits. I would like to tell everyone to be ready to embark on an era that will make the country prosperous and victorious.
කරන්නට ජනතාවගේ ජන ජීවිත ශක්තිමත් කරන්නට දූෂණයෙන් තොර වංචාවෙන් තොර ආණ්ඩුව පිහි කරලා කඩා වැටුණු අපේ දේශය
Many people from several areas in the island who were heading to Colombo to attend the protest organised by the Samagi Jana Balavegya were sent back today. Party activists said the police turned back many supporters. Police blocked Samagi Jana Balavegya supporters from Anuradhapura at Nochiagama as they were heading towards the protest. Although the protesters headed to the Putlam-Colombo main road, the police in Rajangane didn't allow them to cross the Anuradhapura district. Army officers were deployed for security along the Putlam-Colombo road as heavy traffic was reported. Our correspondent reported that the situation was brought under control after about an hour. Samagi Jana Balavegya supporters heading towards Colombo staged a protest at the Benthara junction. The Benthara police had obstructed them from moving forward. The flow of traffic along the road was affected during this period. Samagi Jana Balavegya members and supporters from the Hiriala electorate in Kurunagala staged a protest in Hidipitiya town. The Vallava police had obstructed them from travelling to Colombo. The Talatu Oya and Katugastota police intervened and sent back protesters from the Hanguranketha electorate. They staged a protest at the Hanguranketha town. Party supporters from Tangol were obstructed from reaching Colombo along the Matara-Kataragama road. They staged a protest in Tangol. Samagi Jana Balavegya members from Beliatha were not allowed to exit the area through the Southern Expressway interchange. A group including the Samagi Jana Balavegya's electoral organizer Fatisa Maharama, Estennakon Nilame, were not allowed to enter the expressway from Mappala.
අපේ පුංචියන්ට කිරිපිටි රින්ගක් නැහැ. මුට හෙන ගහන්න ඕන මං කියන්නේ. මුට හෙන කුඹුරක් හදා ගන්න විදිහක් නැහැ. කුඹුරට පහර ඩින්ගන්නේ. මේ දූෂිතාණ්ඩුව දූරී දූත වෙලා තුන් වේලෙන් තුන් දවසෙන් මේ රටේ නතුරු ඇවිල්ලා යන්නේ කියලා කතරගම යනෝන කියනවා.
A group including the Samagi Jana Balavegya's Veligama organizer Rehan Jaivikrama were not allowed to enter the Southern Expressway from Kokmadua.
පොලිසියට ගරු කරන මේ හේතුවක් තියෙනවා. ඔබතුමාලා මේ ආණ්ඩුවකට කඩේ ගිහිල්ලා මේ තුප්පයි තුට්ටු දෙකේ තස්කරි ආණ්ඩුවකට දැන් අපේ කට්ටිය කඩේ කරන්න එපා.
A group including the Samagi Jana Balavege electoral organizer for Agalavatta, Jagat Vitana, was stopped by the police near the Kaluthara bridge. A tense situation arose after that. The protesters marched towards Kaluthara North. A bus carrying former MP Ajit P. Pereira and his supporters was stopped by the Bandaragama police at the Kidalpitiya junction along the Bandaragama-Kasbava main road.
පළවෙනි දේ තමයි අපිට යාමට ඒමට අයිතිය තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒතර මේ කළුතර දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික්කේ මායිමක් නැහැ. ඉන්න ආකාරයට කොයි හැදෙන්න පුළුවන්. නේද? ඔබතුමාලා බාධා කරන නිසා තමයි මේක ඇතුලේ. මේ කෝටගේ බය. ඒ තමයි කෝටගේ බය. අපි නම් බය නැහැ. අපි බයින් හරියන්න දැස්ති. අපි බය නැහැ.
Samagi Jana Balavege activists from Haldamulla and Marangahavela, located along the borders of the Uva and Sabargamu provinces, were also blocked from travelling to Colombo. The police obstructed journalists from covering the protest.
ඔයාගේ ජොබ් එක කරන්න හරිද? ඔයාට පුළුවන් පාරක් මේ මගේ නුනාරින් වීඩියෝ කරන්න ඔයාට එක්ක අවසරයක් ගන්න ඕන කායින් හරි. ඉතින් අපිට පිටියදින් රජයේ ප්‍රවෘත්තිකෝසින් පාස් එකක් මොකටද එතකොට? ඒක ඉතින් ඒගොල්ලොත් එක්ක බලා ගන්න. අපිට මේ අපි මේ ඉන්නකනේ මොකද වීඩියෝ කරනවා. සර්නේ කතා කරේ මට මෙතෙන්ට. ඔව් ඉතින් මොකටද ආවේ කියලා අහන්නේ. මම ආවේ මෙතන ආවරණය කරන්න මම ආවේ.
Party activists from Nikavarati electorate were also not allowed to travel to Colombo. A group including the Samagi Jana Balavegia's Nuwara electoral organizer Ashok Sepala staged a protest at the Hatton town. They were not allowed to travel to Colombo. They staged a protest opposite the Variapola town. JC Alavatuwala staged a protest opposite the Samagi Jana Balavege office in Mavatagama.
Buses were inspected at a roadblock in Panudura on the borders of the Colombo district. Police from Panudura South had carried out the inspection. This is how buses transporting Samagi Jana Balavege supporters were turned back at Beliholoya. Samagi Jana Balavege members from Aralagan Villa were turned back while travelling to Colombo.
අපි මේ රටේ මිනිස්සු බදු ගෙවන මිනිස්සු අපිට කොළඹට යන්න බැරි නම් මේ රට මොකද්ද
පොළොන්නරුව ආසනයේ කේන්ද්‍ර මන්ත්‍රීතුමාගේ ආසනය නියෝජනය කරන බස් රථ 3ක් අපි කොළඹ බලා පිටත් වෙලා තිබෙනවා. ඉන් බස් රථ 2ක් නවත්වාගෙන තිබෙනවා.
Supporters from Manapitiya to Kaduruwela were also turned back. Roadblocks were set up in several areas to inspect vehicles entering Colombo.
This may be a reason that would affect the efforts to combat COVID-19. Therefore, the police will take all measures required to control this. We have instructed all police stations to control this situation. We have instructed officers to inspect people who are travelling for the protests or unlawful public gatherings at roadblocks and then explain the facts to them.
Parliamentarians exchanged views in Parliament over the obstruction imposed over the Samagi Janabalawegaya protest.
Dear Prime Minister, you are a person who has attended Padayatras. Don't the people have the freedom in this country? Don't the people have the freedom to put forward their problems relating to their economic and social problems? How many requests for interim orders by the police were rejected by the courts? I do not want to insult the police or the security units in this country, but they have visited the homes of supporters and asked them whether they would be attending the protests. I wish to say that the pressure exerted to suppress the people's problems must be stopped. This is unsuitable.
ජනතා පීඩනය ජනතාව අසහනයට ලක් මේ ජනතා අයිතිය මර්ධනය කිරීම මේ තෙරපීම මේක වහා නතර කරන්න මේක නුසුදුසු ක්‍රියාවක්.
මේ විපක්ෂ नायකතුමා සභා
The opposition leader is trying to mislead the parliament and the people. If they have even an ounce of love towards this country, the opposition leader and the opposition must join the government and defeat the virus and not defeat the government. This is what they are trying to do. The police will only implement any recommendations by health officials. Therefore, don't blame the police over this.
කරන්නේ ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම සෞඛ්‍ය බලධාරීන්ගේ යම් කිසි උපදෙසක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒක ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙයි. ඒක නිසා පොලිසියට නිකුරුනේ දෝෂාරෝපණය කරන්න එපා. සරත් වීරසේකර නීතිය සාමය ඇමතිතුමා
Sarath Veerasekara, the minister in charge of law and order, said these instructions were issued because of COVID-19. The orders issued by him and the court are different. Are they trying to do this every day by setting up barriers? Farmers and the consumers are on the streets today.
There is nothing to feel brave or proud about this. It is shameful. The situation in August doesn't have to be recreated in December. They can be creative than this. If we were in the opposition, we won't bring the people to the streets.
මීට වැඩිය නිර්මාණශීලී වෙන්න පුළුවන් නේ මේ වගේ වෙලාවක අපි හිටියනම් විපක්ෂ අපි මෙහෙම පාරට බස්සලා මිනිස්සු ඔය වැඩේ කරන්නේ උද්ඝෝෂණයට මෙච්චර බය වෙන්නේ මොකටද?
Why are they afraid of the protests? All national newspapers are carrying a headline saying that nearly 70 officers in charge of police stations have gone to magistrates courts.
මම බිය වුණා කියලා කොයි වෙලාවකවත් කිව්වේ නැහැ.
I didn't say that we are afraid. I said that if they organize few more protests, Sajith Premadasa would lose his position as opposition leader.
Previously, the country and the government faced the repercussions of arresting protesters and sending them to quarantine. While several courts refrained from issuing interim orders, they are exercising suppression by deploying police officers at each junction.
දීමෙන් වැලකී සිටිද්දී ඒකට අවනත නොවි දැන් හන්දියක් ගානේ පොලිසිය යවා මර්ධනය කිරීමේ වැඩපිළිවෙලෙන් කිසි පළක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
මේ පොලිස් පතිතුමාගේ මේ චක්‍රලේඛනය සම්පූර්ණ නීති විරෝධී. කතා කිරීමේ නිදහස, භාෂණයේ නිදහස, මූලික මිනිස් අයිතිවාසිකම් උල්ලංඝනය කිරීමක්. ඩොලර් නැතුව ආර්ථිකය නන්නත්තර වෙලා තියෙද්දී
The economy is collapsing without dollars. Usually other countries bring investments to our country if there is stability. They won't invest only if the government is stable with a two-thirds majority. Democracy based on human rights, freedom of the press must be there for investments to come in. The results of their actions will lead to investments being pulled out and the economy collapsing. Tourists will not come. They cannot stop this opposition.
මේ වගේ ඔලොමොට්ටල වැඩ කරලා මේ විපක්ෂය නවත්තන්න හම්බෙන්නේ.
Government MPs commented on the protests organized by the Samagi Janabalawegaya today.
This government accepts the right to stage protests. We must take all possible steps to prevent the spread of COVID-19 as well. Health sector professionals had made a common call, citing that mass gatherings of people would be in violation of the health guidelines and also cause the spread of the pandemic. I must clearly say that the government has not intervened to halt protests.
කිසිදු ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයක් ගෙන නැති බව මම ඔබට තාම පැහැදිලිව කියන්නට ඕන. අපේ ආණ්ඩු ක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ
Article 15 of the Constitution clearly states that the government has the powers to limit fundamental rights in the best interests of the public health. The executive president and the entire cabinet would have to accept the decision of the Director General of Health Services. It is the decision of the Director General of Health Services that will be accepted over our decisions.
සෞඛ්‍ය අධ්‍යක්ෂ ජෙනරාල් වරයාගේ රෙගුලාසි තමයි බලපවතින්නේ.
අපි තුනෙන් දෙක බලයක් අරගෙන මේ රටේ ජනතා බලවේගකින් ආපු ආණ්ඩුවක් අපි.
Our government came into power after obtaining a two-thirds majority with the power of the people. The people of this country tossed them away from power when the people gave us power instead of them. Do you think either President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa or us will be intimidated if their henchmen come to Colombo? Did we enter politics to be afraid?
අපි දේශපාලනය කරන්න පටන් ගත්තා.
We have more news coming in for you, but do stay tuned right after this commercial break.
Do your online shopping with Sambole.lk. home delivery and pickup now available.
Sambole.lk. Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Welcome back. Let's continue in more local news. Long queues were seen at fuel stations today. Why are these being formed in many parts of the country? Newsfirst inquired.
Energy Minister Udaya Gammanpilla yesterday said the Sapugaskanda oil refinery would be shut down for 50 days. He said there won't be a shortage of fuel in the country, but long queues were seen at fuel stations today. This was the situation near fuel stations in Maradana. Long queues were seen at fuel stations in Navinna, Kottava, Nugegoda and Maharagama. This was the situation in Dehiyatta Kandiya today. Long queues were seen at fuel stations at the Galle town as well. Views were exchanged in Parliament on the long queues at fuel stations.
I had to pump fuel while being in the queue. Some groups are attempting to create fear among the people by saying that there is a massive shortage. They are inconveniencing the people. That is what is happening. Don't politicize this. There is enough fuel. The minister has said that the people don't need to pump fuel in a hurry. There is more than enough fuel. This government will supply fuel without a shortage.
They say there are no dollars to import crude oil. Therefore, I wish to ask the Prime Minister how they can afford to import refined oil. Look into this matter. There is a conspiracy behind closing down the oil refinery.
Energy Minister Gammanpilla has made a statement. It's a very important one. He had explained how refined petrol and diesel would be imported when there are no funds to import crude oil.
I saw that the central bank had made a proposal which I believe is regarding fuel. That is based on a fuel price formula practiced globally. We need to go back to a system under which prices should fluctuate relative to world market rates. Taxes are paid from the money earned by the poor. There is no point. They can use a petrol car that they can afford. Otherwise, they can use a diesel car. The subsidiary issued to cover one's fuel and petrol costs with public funds is unsuitable. Therefore, as the central bank has proposed, I wish to propose to the finance minister and the government to go for a price formula.
Will there be a shortage of fuel in the country?
During the past few months, many groups predicted that there would be a fuel shortage in the country. There is no fuel shortage. If a shortage of fuel is likely to occur, it is my primary responsibility to ensure that it does not happen. We do not manufacture fuel in the country. We do not have enough dollars to buy fuel either. We don't have facilities to store fuel as well. Amidst all these challenges, we have managed to supply fuel without any disruption. If a fuel shortage can occur, we will keep the general public informed of it beforehand. A temporary fuel shortage can occur because of the unnecessary fear that has been created, but it will die down in a couple of days after fuel stations have received enough fuel.
Trade unions expressed their views regarding this today.
ඇමතිතුමා බොරතෙල් නියමිත ක්‍රමවේදය අනුව ගෙන්වීමට කටයුතු නොකරපු නිසායි පිරිපහදුව ඊයේ වැහුවේ.
Because the minister did not take action to bring down crude oil according to a proper method, the Sapugaskanda oil refinery had to be shut down. A cabinet paper was presented in May this year, citing that a Nigerian company will supply crude oil necessary for 8 months. The tender was given to that Nigerian company without calling for tenders from locally registered companies. Petrol and diesel were brought down, but this company was unable to bring down crude oil. Then the minister had to go for an emergency purchase, but he failed to import crude oil after the 5th of October. That is why the refinery had to operate with only 50% of its capacity. The Sapugaskanda oil refinery was shut down by force.
The
Janata Vimukti Peruna expressed the following views at a media briefing today.
They have closed down the oil refinery. They won't be able to open it. They have attributed the foreign exchange crisis as a reason for this as well. This oil refinery is refurbished once in 2 years. It was refurbished a couple of years ago. This refurbishment is a lie. Suppliers didn't submit bids for the tender process. They were promised that a fuel tanker will reach the country on the 5th of next month. That is the truth. When the supply of jet fuel stops, Sri Lankan Airlines will shut down. This is the crisis. The reason is that suppliers aren't even submitting bids, and because there is no foreign currency as a result. The next question is, when will this affect the most? We will run out of coal by mid-December. Then the people will have to live in darkness. This is what the finance minister has to say in his budget. Solutions must be found for the real problems. The budget has not found solutions to the actual problems.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa was among those who expressed their views during the debate on the second reading of the budget in Parliament today.
We had to face many challenges in terms of public finance. Nevertheless, we look forward to continuing to revive the economy and facilitate growth as expected in the years to come. The central bank has taken steps to secure foreign exchange inflows. We are confident that the progressive proposals made in this budget will strengthen the economy in the years to come and beyond.
There are
several main challenges that we are facing at the moment. The country's foreign exchange reserves have reduced drastically. For the first time in history, Sri Lanka would be in a state of being unable to settle its debt next year. The third challenge is the serious decisions that are made as the rupee depreciates. The other challenge faced by the economy is the drop in government revenue. As the fifth challenge, I consider the government's less likelihood of importing essential goods. Against this backdrop, some are predicting that even a famine may occur in the country. The seventh challenge is the rising cost of living, which is unbearable for the people. I don't see that the budget has taken steps to address these challenges which the country is facing. 89% of the budget spending is for 10 ministries. 74% of the budget is allocated for 3 ministries. What will remain after salaries are paid? There are 2 billion in reserves. The country can't be run like this. How will the loans be repaid? I don't feel that a one-time tax is suitable during this period. Then the companies will lose money. How will those companies run operations? On one hand, the government is unstable. On the other hand, companies are also unstable. Go to the International Monetary Fund and discuss this.
If we go to the International Monetary Fund today and obtain their support at these difficult times, you are very well aware that they will set out certain conditions. Will the opposition agree on a policy basis over those conditions?
What I say is that when we go to them, they will submit certain conditions. I wouldn't cut down on employment. If we have to do that, then we will speak out. But it will create some sort of financial discipline.
Going to the IMF is not a new way of dealing with things. Your government went for that option. How many times have we gone for that? Going to the IMF is similar to going to prison. If we go to jail, at least we would be given meals. If we go to the IMF, they won't even give us anything to eat.
The government has taken steps to supply urea for corn cultivations in the Anuradhapura district. But farmers say the urea is expensive.
Agrarian service centres distributed application forms among corn farmers in Galinbindunuvava, Horopathana and Kahatagasdingilia to supply them with urea. Farmers say a bag of urea that usually costs 1,500 rupees is now sold at 6,500 rupees. Farmers say the quantity of urea has been limited to 25 kilos an acre.
අද 6500කට පොහොර හොන්රයක් අරන් බඩිරුඟු කිලෝ එකක් රුපියල් 60 70කට දීලා මේ ගොවියන්ට පුළුවන් ද අනිත් එක දෙන්නෙත් කිලෝ 25යි. මේ කිලෝ 25 ගන්න කුලී වැඩකාරයා දවස් දෙකක් කුලී කරන්න ඕන. අක්ක දෙකට යූරියා වගේ දෙයක් ඉස්සත් අක්ක දෙකට යන්න බෑ.
1500ට සහ නොමිලේ දෙනවා කියලා කියපු පොහොර ටික අද ගොවියට රුපියල් 8000 ඉඳන් සමහර පොහොර ගන්න වෙලා දැන් රුපියල් 10000ක් ගන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ ගොවි ජනතාවගේ ජීවිත තමයි මේ බිලි අරගන්නේ තියෙන්නේ.
ගොවියට මේ මොකද කරන්නේ? ගොවියාගේ ජීවිතේත් එකඟයි සෙල්ලම් කරන්නේ මේ ආණ්ඩුව. මොකද කරන්නේ දැන් අපි? අපිට වහ බොන්න තමයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
The Agriculture Secretary says that an emergency and middle-term plan has been submitted to the President on providing fertilizer and pesticides to farmers whose crops have been affected due to heavy rains.
We have a remaining stock of urea amounting to nearly 10,000 metric tons. The relevant committees decided to allocate a portion of that for cultivations and to distribute the remainder to corn cultivations by maintaining certain standards. I believe this is what has been given to the farmers in regions like Anuradhapura district. We are facing two issues. The first is the issues relating to the climate. We know that there were floods in some areas. Regardless of what is applied to the soil, the floods wash them away. Therefore, we need an emergency plan. We need to make the soil fertile for cultivation again. Therefore, we prepared a roadmap in line with the government's policy and submitted it to the President. It included details of an emergency plan and also middle and long-term plans on eco-friendly fertilizer and pesticides that can be imported. Under that, we would import products containing nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium that have received approval. We submitted this to the President. This was done based on his request.
ඉතා පැහැදිලිව අපි ඒ දේ ලියලා සාකච්ඡා කරලා අද උදෑසන අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමාට අපි බාර දුන්නා. අපි හිතනවා එතුමාගේ ඉල්ලීමක් තමයි අපි ඒක බාර දුන්නේ.
The Chinese vessel carrying fertilizer is still anchored in the Sea of Sri Lanka. If the government is going to reject the stock of fertilizer, why is the ship still anchored in the Sea of Sri Lanka?
There are several technical issues here because we have opened a letter of credit. I personally think that the ship is still anchored in our sea until these issues are resolved. Don't misinterpret this as something based on commissions.
ස්වරිභාවයට රටේ ආරක්ෂාවට තර්ජනයක් නේද වටේ කැරකි ඉන්න එක මේ නෑවා.
නැත්නම් ආයුධ නමක් නෙවෙයි ඉතින් තර්ජනයක් වෙන විදියක් නෑ අසංක.
Senior officials of the Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Limited, also known as IFFCO, convened a media briefing in Colombo this evening. The media briefing was convened at the Ministry of Agriculture to create awareness about nano-nitrogen fertilizer.
Is it 100% organic or does it contain any chemicals?
It doesn't contain any chemical. It's clear. It's a nano-fertilizer. It's a nano-fertilizer. It has been categorized as such. Indian government has also categorized it as nano-fertilizer. No organic, inorganic. This is nano-fertilizer. It's a separate category that has been come into existence. This is a new next generation fertilizer.
So who holds the patent for this product?
IFFCO and Dr. Ramesh Ralia, who is the innovator, who is the inventor of this, he holds the patent for it.
So Indian companies hold the patent for this product?
Definitely the innovator has the right. He has done so much of work, so he has the right.
What's the retail price of this product, this particular bottle in the Indian market?
In India, the urea is highly subsidized. You see that our government is giving a lot of subsidy on that. So we have to be competitive in the market. So it is priced 10% less than the current price of urea in the market.
What's the current market retail price of this product in the Indian market?
That's approximately, I think, 240 rupees.
Media spokesperson of the Catholic Church of Sri Lanka, Reverend Father Cyril Gamini, arrived at the Criminal Investigations Department for the second consecutive day today to record a statement. Reverend Father Cyril Gamini has been summoned to the Criminal Investigations Department to record a statement following a complaint made by the Director of the State Intelligence Service, Major General Suresh Saleh, over a statement by Father Cyril Gamini regarding the April 21st attacks at a conference held on Zoom. Reverend Father Cyril Gamini arrived at the Criminal Investigations Department at 10 a.m. yesterday and left the premises at 5:45 p.m.
දැන් අදට මේ ප්‍රශ්න කිරීම සහ පිළිතුරු දීම අදට නිමා වුණා. ඒ කියන්නේ
The recording of my statement was concluded for today. We thought of concluding this early, but I was adamant that we must finish this today itself. The CID officials told me to come tomorrow as well. Then my attorney opposed that and said that we won't be able to come tomorrow because 300 odd people were killed and hundreds were injured in the April 21st attack, and the people responsible for the attack don't have to undergo this. The former Attorney General Dappolo de Oliveira made a very critical statement saying there is a conspiracy behind this. But he was not summoned to the CID or the police to record his statement. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry has given clear recommendations for the wrongdoers. Not only Catholics, but every citizen has also been shocked by these negligent acts. Even the Muslim community has been severely inconvenienced as a result of this.
ඉෂ්ට කරන්නේ නැතුව ඒවා මගහැරලා සිටිනකොට අපිටත් කතෝලිකයන් පමණක් නෙමෙයි මේකේ නගතියටපත් වුණ හැම ජනතාව මුස්ලිම් ජනතාවත් සෑහෙන අපහසුතාවයටපත් වුණා.
US President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping had their first bilateral meeting this morning. The two leaders held discussions over video conference at a time when the two countries' relationship is deteriorating over issues including Taiwan and Hong Kong.